In the remote woodlands of Norway, where the internet barely reaches and cars don't disturb the silence, a young girl discovered an old electric piano in her parents' attic. She was 6 years old, and that piano had belonged to her older sister Miranda. The girl began to play, imitating classical melodies at first, but by age 9 something shifted. She started composing her own music, creating melodies that seemed to come from somewhere beyond the ordinary world. Her name was Aurora Aksnes, born on June 15, 1996, in Stavanger, Norway, and she would grow up to become known as the Fairy of Pop. Aurora's childhood was unlike most. She grew up in Hola, a small town, before her family moved to an even more isolated place called Drange, a remote village in the Os Mountains near Bergen and Lysefjord. There were no cars, just endless trees and poor internet connectivity. Aurora described herself as a forest person, someone who climbed trees and valued the isolation and safety of her environment. While her sisters worried she might be bullied at school for her eccentric personality and distinctive style of dress, Aurora preferred solitary moments in the forests. She would philosophize there, discovering her own mind in the quiet spaces between the trees. As a child, she had an unusual hobby of collecting dead insects, particularly moths, which would later become a symbol for her debut album. She was uncomfortable with physical affection and saw the world through eyes that noticed things others missed. When Aurora was 11 years old, she attended a funeral on Christmas Eve. The experience affected her so deeply that she developed dysphemia, a speech difficulty that prompted her to learn sign language. Loss became a recurring theme in her young life. She lost a friend from her sign language class in a car accident. Later, she would lose 2 more close friends, one to suicide and another in the devastating 2011 Utoya massacre. These experiences of grief and darkness would seep into her music, particularly in songs like Little Boy in the Grass, released in 2015. But Aurora never wanted to write sad songs just to make people sad. She wanted her music to be like medicine with a teaspoon of sugar, beautiful while being sad, always leaving room for hope. For years, Aurora kept her music completely private. Her parents didn't encourage it as a career or even as a hobby. She explored other dreams, thinking she might become a doctor, a physicist, or a dancer. From ages 6 to 16, she trained in contemporary dance, performing at the Norwegian Youth Festival of Art to songs like Paramore's Decode and Michael Jackson's Ghosts. She also disliked the sound of her own voice, which made the idea of becoming a singer seem impossible. Her earliest known composition was called The Lonely Man, followed by I Had a Dream, a song about global challenges that she later described as really long and boring, though she performed it once at her high school's leaving ceremony. Everything changed because of an act that initially made Aurora furious. A classmate uploaded a recording of her song Puppet, which had been a Christmas gift for her parents, along with a video of her school performance of I Had a Dream, to the internet without her permission. The uploads quickly gained thousands of views in Norway, building her an early fan base on Facebook. In early 2013, a representative from Made Management, a Norwegian management company, discovered her work and invited her to their office. Aurora was hesitant, but her mother persuaded her to consider sharing her music, recognizing its potential to resonate with others. It was the beginning of a journey that would transform the shy forest girl into one of Norway's biggest artists. In 2014, following the success of Puppet in Norway, Aurora signed recording contracts with Petroleum, Decca, and Glassnote Records. She released 2 additional singles that year, Awakening and Under Stars, with Awakening earning her the title of Untouched of the Week at NRK Urørt. Her distinctive vocal style and musicality garnered critical acclaim across Europe and the United States. In May 2015, she released her debut EP, Running with the Wolves, which received positive reviews from online music publications and Norwegian media. The EP's lead single, Runaway, would become a resurgent success years later in 2021 after going viral on TikTok, reaching number 22 on the Billboard Global 200 and number 25 on the UK singles chart. But even before that viral moment, Aurora was capturing hearts. Later in 2015, her cover of Oasis's Half the World Away for the John Lewis Christmas advert reached number 11 on the UK singles chart. In December, she performed at the Nobel Peace Prize concert, an experience she described as incredibly beautiful. Host Jay Leno praised her performance. There was something ethereal about Aurora, something that made people stop and listen. Critics compared her to Björk, Florence Welch, and Enya. Her voice was frequently described as otherworldly, and her music wove vivid lyrical themes of fantasy, heartache, life, and death. In early 2016, Aurora won the Spellemann Award for Newcomer of the Year, along with a 250,000 kroner Gramo Scholarship and the EBBA Award for International Breakthrough. That January, she was featured alongside Troye Sivan atop Rolling Stone's 10 New Artists You Need to Know list. Her debut studio album, All My Demons, Greeting Me as a Friend, arrived in March and topped Norway's VG Lista for 2 consecutive weeks, marking her as the first Norwegian debutante to achieve a number 1 debut since Emily Nicholas in 2014. The album earned a Spellemann nomination for Album of the Year while winning in the categories of Pop Soloist and Music Video of the Year for I Went Too Far. As of September 2018, it had sold 500,000 copies worldwide. Aurora's appearance drew as much attention as her music. She had a childlike look, pale skin without makeup, and short platinum blonde hair that matched the color of her eyebrows. Later, she adopted a partially shaved hairstyle described as Norwegian Viking, and from 2018 to 2024, she became known for a layered haircut, long in the front and short in the back, similar to styles seen in anime. Her wardrobe primarily consisted of reused garments, many designed by Aurora herself in collaboration with her sister Victoria. She wore traditional clothing like hats and long skirts, embracing her love for nature and her eccentric style. During the promotional period between her releases, Infections of a Different Kind, Step 1 and A Different Kind of Human Step 2, Aurora frequently performed with facial markings that symbolize tears and smile wrinkles. Aurora's musical style encompasses a diverse range of genres, including art pop, Nordic folk, synth pop, electropop, and folk pop. Critics have described her music in various terms. She's been called a poetic author of art pop, an unaffectedly curious artist, and Scandinavia's newest dark pop prodigy. Her songs blend sizzling synth pop with Nordic folk influences, creating what some have called darkly romantic electro folk. She possesses a soprano vocal range, and her use of vocal motifs like ah, oh, and la is a recurring characteristic in her music. While she primarily composes in English, she has also performed songs in Norwegian, and even created an invented emotional language to enhance the emotional impact and meaning of her performances. She is proficient in playing the piano and has knowledge of other instruments, including the ukulele, guitar, and harp. Aurora occasionally contributes to the percussion and production aspects of her music, becoming more involved in the creative process with each album. Her influences are as eclectic as her sound. At home, she didn't have access to radio or music channels on television, and she admitted that she had listened to very few artists at the beginning of her singing career. She has mentioned Annie Brun, Björk, Bob Dylan, Enya, Johnny Cash, Kate Bush, Leonard Cohen, Oasis, Suzanne Sunfuhr, The Beatles, and Underworld as her major influences. The first album she bought was Dylan's Blonde on Blonde. But perhaps most surprisingly, Aurora has talked about heavy metal as a major inspiration from a young age, citing French band Gojira as her favorite band. She first listened to one of their songs when she was around 11 years old and described it as so hard and so intense and dark, like an explosion. She has also listened to Mastodon, System of a Down, Tool, Metallica, Refused, and Slayer. Her love for heavy metal inspired her compilation EP for the Metal People, which included some of her songs influenced by the genre. Aurora's second album came as a two-part concept. In April 2018, she released Queendom as the lead single, followed by Forgotten Love in August. The album, recorded in France with producers Askgel, Roy Kerr, and Tim Bran, saw Aurora deeply involved in the production process. The new material explored themes of politics, sexuality, and empowerment, inspired by interactions with fans during her debut tour. The music video for Queendom emphasized inclusivity, particularly for her LGBTQ+ fan base, featuring a scene where Aurora kissed a female dancer to symbolize acceptance of all forms of love. The first part, Infections of a Different Kind Step 1, an 8-track release, arrived in September 2018. The second part, A Different Kind of Human Step 2, followed in June 2019. Aurora supported both releases with a headlining tour and performances at festivals including Glastonbury, Groove in the Moo, and Outside Lands. In 2019, Aurora co-wrote and provided vocals for 3 tracks on No Geography, the 9th studio album by the Chemical Brothers. Later that year, she contributed backing vocals to Into the Unknown from Disney's Frozen 2 and performed it live at the 92nd Academy Awards in February 2020 with Idina Menzel and a chorus of international singers representing the song's translations. Her solo version of the song was released as a single in March 2020. Previously, in 2018, she performed a cover of Baby Mine for the soundtrack of Dumbo. Aurora's 4th studio album, The Gods We Can Touch, was released in January 2022 to critical acclaim, earning her first top 10 album on the UK Albums Chart and first number 1 on Norway's VG Lista since her debut studio album. Following the album's release, Aurora premiered a virtual concert film, A Touch of the Divine, streamed via Moment House. She then embarked on a worldwide concert tour to promote the album, which included several music festivals. Her closing headline, set at Øya in Norway, received rave reviews and led Variety and NRK P3 to name Aurora one of Norway's biggest artists. Throughout 2022, Aurora did a series of notable collaborations. She featured on Wu Qingfeng's single Storm and sang on Sondre Lerche's track Alone in the Night. She released Hunting Shadows to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Her collaboration with Hans Zimmer included providing vocals for the soundtrack of the BBC's Frozen Planet 2, and she performed Take Me Back Home at the Royal Albert Hall during the BBC's Earth Proms. That year, Aurora won the Spelleman Award for International Success of the Year and received the P3 prize at the P3 Gull, presented by Billie Eilish, who has credited Aurora's Runaway as the inspiration for her decision to pursue a music career. Aurora collaborated with the video game Sky, Children of the Light, contributing vocals to its opening and closing themes. In October 2022, a collaborative event within the game was held, alongside a virtual concert that premiered after the Game Awards in December. It returned in August 2023 for an attempt to break the Guinness World Record for most users in a concert-themed virtual world, which was achieved with 10,061 simultaneous players. In January 2023, Aurora began teasing her 5th studio album. That month, she collaborated with Tom Odell on the piano ballad Butterflies. Between July and August, Aurora contributed a cover of Nick Drake's Pink Moon and released My Sails Are Set for the soundtrack of the live-action series One Piece. In October 2023, Aurora teased new music, and the following month she released Your Blood, her first solo single in nearly 2 years, followed by the singles The Conflict of the Mind and Some Type of Skin in early 2024. Aurora announced her 5th studio album, What Happened to the Heart, in March 2024, with a release in June. The album fuses indie pop and disco, drawing inspirations from pop, techno, and folk music. It achieved top 10 chart positions in Germany, Norway, Scotland, the Netherlands, and the UK, and won the Edvard Prize for Popular Music for being a cohesive and well thought out work carried by a clear artistic vision. To promote the album, Aurora embarked on her 5th concert tour, What Happened to the Earth, attracting approximately 300,000 attendees. Prior to her Wembley Arena concert, she hosted a free retrospective exhibition, Some Type of Skin, an exhibition, displaying her stage outfits and visual art tracing her aesthetic and career evolution. Aurora's fans call themselves her warriors and weirdos, a name that perfectly captures the spirit of her music and her message. She has created a space for outsiders, for those who feel different, for those who find beauty in darkness and hope in sadness. Aurora identifies as a feminist and advocates for a range of human rights causes, including racial equality and LGBTQ rights. She identifies as an introvert and, in a 2018 interview with The Independent, described herself as bisexual while expressing a preference for embracing love and exploration without rigid labels. Aurora has shown support for various environmental awareness movements, topics that she explored in songs like Apple Tree, The Seed, and Soulless Creatures. She expressed admiration for environmental initiatives by figures such as Greta Thunberg and the band Coldplay. Aurora has been active in philanthropic and advocacy work. In October 2020, she performed her song Warrior for volunteers of the Clean Sounds movement and called on fellow artists Billie Eilish and Sigrid to join the cause. She participated in a number of online music festivals, including V-Air Live, a demonstration against racism in response to the murder of George Floyd, SOS Rainforest in support of indigenous communities and rainforests in Africa, Asia, and South America, and the Exist for Love sessions to promote emerging artists. In November 2021, she headlined a nonprofit charity event during COP26 to raise funds for Brian Eno's Earth Percent organization. She has also been politically vocal, particularly during the Gaza war, during which she called for a permanent ceasefire and joined the No Music for Genocide movement, geo-blocking her music on streaming platforms in Israel to protest the conflict. In 2025, Forbes included Aurora in its 30 Under 30 list, and Nordhoff and Robbins honored her with the Silver Clef Award for Contemporary Music. Later that year, she released You Can't Run From Yourself as the opening theme for the 2nd season of the anime Kaiju No. 8. Alongside her solo work, she featured on Bring Me the Horizon's song Limousine from their album Post-Human Next Gen, and collaborated with Jacob Collier on a mashup of her song The Seed and his A Rock Somewhere, performed in the Arctic to raise awareness for ocean and climate protection. She also contributed to the Genshin Impact soundtrack, performing the main theme of the Nordkrai region alongside the London Voices and the London Symphony Orchestra. Aurora has risen to prominence as one of Norway's biggest contemporary artists. Media outlets have dubbed her the Fairy of Pop, while NME named her as a pioneer of Norwegian art pop. In Aurora's hometown of Ås, she was credited by former mayor Terje Søviknes as a leading artist in the Ås wave, inspiring and encouraging emergent artists. He remarked that if Bergen had the Bergen wave, Ås has the Ås wave with Aurora at the forefront, that Aurora's success makes others dare to pursue their dreams, and that Aurora is leading the Ås wave forward and paving the way for the next generation. Aurora has garnered praise from artists including Ani Brun, Billie Eilish, Doja Cat, Katy Perry, Oli Sykes, Shawn Mendes, and Troye Sivan. Björk's attendance at Aurora's KEXP session in Reykjavik led one writer to describe her as a big deal. She has earned numerous accolades, including the P3 Prize at the P3 Gull for her significant impact on Norwegian music over time, 4 Spellemann Awards, with 2 nominations for Album of the Year, and an EBBA Award for International Success. At the age of 21, she became the youngest individual to receive a stone on the Bergen Walk of Fame. She was named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in 2025 and had sold over 1 million albums worldwide by July 2021. But beyond the numbers and the awards, Aurora represents something more mystical, something harder to define. She is the girl who collected dead moths and found magic in the forest. She is the artist who sings in an invented emotional language because sometimes words aren't enough to express what the heart feels. She is the performer who takes off her shoes on stage to feel more connected to the earth. She is the voice that reminds us that it's not dangerous to cry or think of something sad for a while, that it's easier to think about it through a song, which can also be beautiful while being sad. She is the warrior for everything that can't fight for itself, the voice for the outsiders, the weirdos, the ones who feel too much and see too deeply. Her onstage persona is often noted for its candid humor, shaped by her openness about intrusive thoughts, which she frequently shares with audiences during live performances. She creates an atmosphere where vulnerability is strength, where being different is celebrated, where the warriors and weirdos of the world can gather and feel like they belong to something magical. Aurora once said that she doesn't want to write sad songs only to make people sad, that she'll end up with lots of depressed fans, and that's not her goal at all. But she wants people to know that it's not dangerous to cry or think of something sad for a while. It's like taking medicine with a teaspoon of sugar. It's important to have some hope. From the remote woodlands of Norway to stages around the world, from a shy girl who hated the sound of her own voice to an artist who has inspired millions, Aurora's journey is a testament to the power of authenticity, the beauty of embracing your weirdness, and the magic that happens when you dare to share your truth with the world. She is the fairy of pop, the pioneer of Norwegian art pop, the voice of a generation of warriors and weirdos who refuse to be anything other than exactly who they are. And in a world that often demands conformity, that is perhaps the most magical thing of all. That's all for today. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to subscribe and be kind to each other.